What if the key to getting your ex back isn't about what you say or do, but about what you don't say? What if the most powerful move you could make right now is to say nothing at all? It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? When a relationship ends, your first instinct is probably to fight for it, to text, call, or beg for another chance. But what if I told you that silence could be the very thing that changes everything? Silence isn't just the absence of words. It's a strategic, emotionally charged force that can shift the entire dynamic of a breakup. Think about it. Right now, your ex likely assumes they have the upper hand. They expect you to reach out, to chase them, to try to fix things. But the moment you go silent, something shifts. Suddenly, they're the ones wondering why you're not contacting them. They're the ones checking their phone, replaying memories, and feeling the weight of your absence. Silence forces them to confront what they've lost, and that's when the real magic happens. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." And that's exactly what your silence does. It forces your ex to sit alone with their thoughts, without your love, your support, or your presence. It's in this quiet space that they begin to truly reflect on the relationship and what it meant to them. But silence isn't just about them, it's about you too. When you choose silence, you're reclaiming your power. You're showing yourself that you don't need to chase someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. You're giving yourself the chance to heal, to reflect, and to grow. Silence allows you to step back and see the situation clearly, without the emotional chaos that comes with constant communication. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why silence makes your ex come back. We'll explore 5 psychological shifts that happen when you stop reaching out, so you can understand why silence is the most powerful response you can give. Whether you're hoping to rekindle the relationship or simply move on with your life, understanding the power of silence can change everything. Before we dive in, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks louder than words. Let's get started. Number 1, silence makes you a mystery. Humans are wired to crave what they don't understand. It's a fundamental part of our psychology. When something is uncertain or elusive, it captures our attention and imagination. This is especially true in relationships. When you were always available, texting, calling, checking in, your ex had a sense of certainty. They knew you were there, and they never had to wonder about your feelings or intentions. But the moment you go silent, everything changes. Suddenly, they're left with questions, and those questions create a powerful psychological shift. Silence turns you into a mystery. When you stop reaching out, your ex starts to wonder, why haven't they texted me? Are they moving on? Are they seeing someone else? Did I make a mistake? Your absence creates a gap in their mind, and that gap becomes an obsession. This phenomenon is rooted in what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency of the human brain to fixate on unfinished business. When something is left unresolved or open-ended, the mind keeps replaying it, searching for closure. Every time your ex checks their phone and sees no message from you, it triggers uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds attraction. Think about it. When you were constantly available, your ex didn't have to work for your attention. They knew you were there, and that predictability made you less intriguing. But now, your silence has disrupted that predictability. You've become an enigma, and that's incredibly compelling. People are naturally drawn to what they can't fully understand or control. By staying silent, you've shifted the dynamic. You're no longer the person who's always waiting in the wings. You're the person who's moved into the unknown, And that's fascinating. This shift isn't just about making your ex curious, it's also about reclaiming your power. When you choose silence, you're showing that you're not dependent on their validation or attention. You're demonstrating that you're capable of standing on your own, and that independence is incredibly attractive. It sends a clear message. I value myself enough to walk away from what no longer serves me. This kind of self-assurance is magnetic, and it forces your ex to see you in a new light. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Silence is a powerful demonstration of this principle. By choosing not to engage, you're taking control of your own emotions and actions. You're refusing to let external circumstances dictate your behavior, and that kind of inner strength is irresistible. It shows that you're not just reacting to the breakup, you're responding with intention and purpose. Silence also creates space for your ex to reflect on the relationship. When you're no longer there to fill the silence, they're forced to confront their own feelings. Did they take you for granted? Did they underestimate what you brought to the relationship? These are the questions that start to surface when you're no longer there to provide answers. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to them what they've lost. But here's the key. Silence isn't about playing games or manipulating someone's emotions. It's about creating boundaries and respecting yourself. It's about giving yourself the time and space to heal, while also allowing your ex the opportunity to truly miss you. When you stop chasing, you create the conditions for them to come back, not because they feel pressured or guilty, but because they genuinely want to. In essence, silence makes you a mystery, because it removes the certainty your ex once had. It forces them to confront their own thoughts and feelings, and it gives them the space to realize what they've lost. At the same time, it empowers you to take control of your own narrative and demonstrate your self-worth. So, if you're wondering whether silence can make your ex come back, the answer is yes, because it taps into some of the most powerful psychological forces at play in human relationships. Number 2, absence triggers their fear of losing you. One of the most profound truths about human nature is that people rarely value what they believe will always be there. When you were consistently giving, forgiving, and waiting for your ex, they had no sense of urgency to change or appreciate you. They took your presence for granted, assuming you would always be available no matter what. But silence disrupts that illusion. When you stop reaching out, stop texting, and stop making your energy felt in their life, something shifts. They begin to realize that you're no longer orbiting their world, and that realization can be jarring. At first, your ex might try to downplay the impact of your absence. They'll distract themselves with work, friends, hobbies, or even someone new. They might convince themselves that they're better off without you or that they don't miss you, but distractions are temporary. They can only suppress feelings for so long before reality begins to creep in. And when it does, fear sets in. Fear of loss, fear of regret, and fear of the unknown. Fear of loss is one of the most powerful motivators in human psychology. It's rooted in our innate desire to hold on to what we value. When someone realizes they've truly lost something valuable, whether it's a relationship, a connection, or a sense of security, their natural instinct is to try to reclaim it. This is why your silence can be so impactful. It forces your ex to confront the possibility that they've lost you for good. They start questioning their decisions. Did I make a mistake? Did I take them for granted? What if they've moved on? These questions create a sense of urgency that wasn't there before. Your absence also highlights the contrast between what they once had and what they now lack. When you were present, your love, support, and attention might have felt like a given. But now that you're gone, they're forced to confront the void you've left behind. They start to notice the little things they miss: your laughter, your encouragement, the way you made them feel. These realizations can be painful, but they're also transformative. They force your ex to see you in a new light, not as someone who would always be there, but as someone who brought real value to their life. The ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This quote perfectly encapsulates what your ex begins to feel in your absence. They start to reflect on how much time they wasted not appreciating you, not cherishing the relationship, and not recognizing what they had. This reflection is often accompanied by regret, which can be a powerful catalyst for change. But here's the key. Your silence isn't just about making your ex fear losing you. It's also about reclaiming your own worth. When you stop chasing someone who isn't reciprocating your efforts, you're sending a clear message to yourself and to them. I deserve to be valued, and I won't settle for less. This self-respect is incredibly attractive, and it forces your ex to see you in a new light. They start to realize that you're not someone who will wait around indefinitely. You're someone who knows their own value and isn't afraid to walk away. Your absence also creates space for your ex to experience life without you. They might try to fill the void with other people or activities, but over time, they'll begin to notice that no one else can replace what you brought to the table. This realization can be humbling, and it often leads to a deeper appreciation for you and the relationship you shared. Ultimately, silence triggers their fear of losing you because it forces them to confront the reality of your absence. It removes the safety net they once took for granted and makes them realize that you're not someone they can easily replace. This fear, combined with the regret and reflection that come with it, can be a powerful motivator for them to reconsider their choices and take steps to reconnect with you. So if you're wondering whether silence can make your ex come back, the answer is yes, because it taps into one of the most fundamental aspects of human psychology, the fear of losing something valuable. By choosing silence, you're not just giving yourself the space to heal. You're also giving your ex the opportunity to truly appreciate what they've lost. Number 3, silence forces them to reflect. When you're in someone's life, constantly present and available, it's easy for them to take you for granted. Your presence acts as a safety net, reassuring them that no matter what happens, you'll always be there. This comfort can lead to complacency, allowing them to avoid facing their mistakes or taking responsibility for their actions. But when you choose silence, you remove that safety net. Suddenly, they're left alone with their thoughts, and that's when the real work begins. Reflection is a powerful but often uncomfortable process. It forces people to confront truths they might have been avoiding, truths about themselves, their behavior, and the choices they've made. In the context of a breakup, your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to your ex the reality of what they've lost. They begin to see the relationship for what it truly was, a connection with someone who loved them, cared for them, and showed up for them in ways they may not have fully appreciated at the time. At first, your ex might try to justify their actions. They'll tell themselves the breakup was the right choice, that they're better off without you, or that the relationship wasn't working. These justifications are a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from the discomfort of regret. But as the silence stretches on, doubt begins to creep in. They start asking themselves questions they can no longer ignore. Did I take them for granted? Was I too harsh? What if I made a mistake? These questions are the seeds of cognitive dissonance, the psychological tension that arises when someone realizes their actions may not align with their true feelings or values. Cognitive dissonance is a powerful force. It creates a sense of unease, a nagging feeling that something isn't right. In the case of your ex, this dissonance stems from the growing realization that they may have let something valuable slip away. The more they reflect, the harder it becomes to ignore the truth. They had someone who loved them deeply, and they didn't fully appreciate it. This realization can be painful, but it's also transformative. It forces them to confront their own shortcomings and consider what they need to do differently in the future. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This quote encapsulates the essence of what your silence does. It forces your ex to stop making excuses and start taking responsibility. They begin to realize that if they ever want to rebuild a connection with you, they need to be better, not just in words but in actions. They need to show up differently, to value you differently, and to treat you with the respect and appreciation you deserve. Your silence also creates space for your ex to experience life without you. They might try to fill the void with distractions, work, friends, or even new relationships. But over time, they'll begin to notice that something is missing. They'll start to see the ways you contributed to their life, the ways you made them feel supported, loved, and understood. These realizations can be humbling, but they're also necessary for growth. Reflection isn't just about regret, it's also about accountability. When your ex is forced to sit with their thoughts, they begin to see the role they played in the breakup. They start to recognize patterns in their behavior. Perhaps they were dismissive, neglectful, or unwilling to compromise. These insights can be difficult to face, but they're essential for personal growth. They allow your ex to see where they went wrong and what they need to do differently moving forward. But here's the key: your silence isn't just about forcing your ex to reflect. It's also about giving yourself the space to heal and grow. When you stop chasing someone who isn't reciprocating your efforts, you're prioritizing your own well-being. You're showing yourself that you deserve to be with someone who values you, respects you, and is willing to put in the effort to make the relationship work. Ultimately, silence forces your ex to reflect, because it removes the distractions and excuses that allowed them to avoid facing the truth. It creates the conditions for them to see the relationship clearly, to recognize their mistakes, and to take responsibility for their actions. And while this process can be uncomfortable, it's also necessary for growth, both for them and for the possibility of a healthier, stronger relationship in the future. So, if you're wondering whether silence can make your ex come back, the answer is yes, because it forces them to confront the reality of what they've lost and what they need to do to earn your trust and love again. Number 4, silence makes them chase you. There's a fascinating shift that happens in relationships when one person stops chasing and starts stepping back. The moment your ex feels like they're losing control, their behavior begins to change. They might not act on it immediately. Pride, ego, or even denial can delay their response. But over time, their actions start to shift. They begin to check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or send casual "hey" texts out of the blue. These small moves aren't random or coincidental. They're calculated tests. Your ex is trying to gauge your feelings, to see if you'll respond, if you still care, or if they still have power over you. This shift in behavior is rooted in a fundamental aspect of human psychology: the fear of losing control. When you were the one reaching out, pursuing and trying to fix things, your ex felt secure in their position. They knew they had your attention, and that knowledge gave them a sense of power. But when you go silent, that dynamic changes. Suddenly, they're no longer in control, and that uncertainty triggers a primal instinct to chase. At first, their attempts to reconnect might be subtle. They might like an old photo of yours on social media, comment on a post, or casually mention you in conversation with friends. These actions are their way of testing the waters, of seeing if you're still emotionally invested. But the moment they realize you're not responding, that their attempts aren't getting the reaction they expected, their emotions hit full force. They start to feel the weight of your absence, and that's when the real chase begins. Your silence forces your ex to confront the reality that they no longer have power over you. This realization can be jarring, especially if they were used to being the one in control. They start to regret how they treated you, wondering if they took you for granted or if they made a mistake. They begin to question whether you've moved on, and that uncertainty creates a sense of urgency. Suddenly, they're the ones feeling the desperation they once made you feel. This shift isn't just about control, it's also about value. When you stop chasing, you're sending a clear message: I know my worth, and I won't settle for less. This self-assurance is incredibly attractive, and it forces your ex to see you in a new light. They start to realize that you're not someone who will wait around indefinitely. You're someone who knows what you deserve and isn't afraid to walk away. This realization can be a powerful motivator for them to chase you, not out of guilt or obligation, but out of genuine desire to reconnect. The chase is also fueled by the psychological principle of scarcity. When something is readily available, we tend to take it for granted. But when it becomes scarce or inaccessible, its value increases in our minds. Your silence creates a sense of scarcity, making your ex realize that you're no longer as available as you once were. This realization triggers a fear of loss, which in turn drives them to pursue you. But here's the key. The moment they start chasing, the power is in your hands. You're no longer the one trying to prove your worth or win their affection. Instead, they're the ones trying to earn your attention. This shift in power dynamics is crucial because it allows you to set the terms of any potential reconciliation. You can decide whether to engage, how to respond, and what boundaries to set. It's important to note that silence isn't about playing games or manipulating someone's emotions. It's about reclaiming your power and giving yourself the space to heal. When you stop chasing, you're prioritizing your own well-being and demonstrating that you won't settle for less than you deserve. This self-respect is what ultimately makes you irresistible and compels your ex to chase you. In essence, silence makes your ex chase you because it disrupts the balance of power in the relationship. It forces them to confront the reality of your absence, to recognize your value, and to take action if they want to reconnect. And while the chase might feel validating, the real victory lies in the fact that you've reclaimed your power and shown yourself the respect you deserve. So, if you're wondering whether silence can make your ex come back, the answer is yes, because it taps into the psychological forces of control, value, and scarcity, compelling them to chase you in ways they never did before. Number 5. Silence helps you move on. While much of the focus on silence revolves around its impact on your ex, its most profound effect is often on you. Silence isn't just a strategy to make someone come back. It's a powerful tool for reclaiming your power, rebuilding your self-respect, and rediscovering the person you were before the relationship left you feeling broken. While your ex is sitting in regret, questioning their choices, and missing your presence, you're on a journey of healing and self-discovery. Silence gives you the space to breathe, to reflect, and to grow. By the time your ex does come back, you might find that you've moved on, not because you've stopped caring, but because you've realized you don't need them to be happy. The end of a relationship can feel like a loss of identity. When you're deeply connected to someone, it's easy to lose sight of who you are outside of that partnership. Silence creates the distance you need to reconnect with yourself. It allows you to step away from the chaos of the breakup and focus on your own needs, desires, and goals. This process isn't just about moving on from your ex, it's about moving toward a better version of yourself. As you embrace silence, you begin to rediscover your worth. You start to see that your value isn't tied to someone else's approval or affection. You realize that you are enough, just as you are. This realization is transformative. It shifts your focus from what you've lost to what you still have, your strength, your resilience, and your ability to create a fulfilling life on your own terms. Silence gives you the clarity to see that you don't need someone else to complete you. You are already whole. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you choose silence, you're taking control of your thoughts. Instead of obsessing over what went wrong or what your ex is doing, you're redirecting your energy toward your own growth and happiness. You're focusing on the future, on the person you want to become, and the life you want to create. This shift in mindset is incredibly empowering. It allows you to break free from the emotional chains of the past and step into a brighter, more hopeful future. Silence also helps you find peace. In the aftermath of a breakup, it's easy to get caught up in a cycle of overthinking, regret, and self-doubt. Silence interrupts that cycle. It creates a sense of calm, allowing you to process your emotions without the noise of constant communication or the pressure to respond. This peace is essential for healing. It gives you the space to grieve, to forgive, and to let go. Over time, you begin to feel lighter, freer, and more at ease with yourself and your circumstances. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is that it helps you realize you don't need your ex to be happy. When you're constantly reaching out or waiting for them to come back, you're giving them control over your emotional well-being. Silence takes that control back. It shows you that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else. It comes from within. This realization is liberating. It allows you to live your life on your own terms, without waiting for someone else to validate your worth or dictate your future. By the time your ex does come back, you might find that you've outgrown the relationship. The person you were when you were with them is no longer the person you are now. You've grown, you've healed, and you've moved on. This doesn't mean you don't care about them or the relationship you shared. It simply means you've realized that you deserve more. You deserve someone who values you, respects you, and is willing to put in the effort to make the relationship work. And if your ex isn't that person, silence has given you the strength to walk away and keep moving forward. The real power of silence isn't in making your ex return. It's in helping you realize that you don't need them to. It's about reclaiming your power, rebuilding your self-respect, and rediscovering your worth. It's about finding peace, embracing growth, and creating a future that's focused on your happiness. Silence isn't just a strategy for getting your ex back. It's a gift you give yourself, a chance to heal, to grow, and to move on. So, if you're wondering whether silence can help you move on, the answer is yes, because it gives you the space to reconnect with yourself, to rediscover your worth, and to create a life that's no longer defined by someone else's presence or absence. Silence is power. It creates mystery, triggers their fear of loss, forces them to reflect, makes them chase you, and most importantly, helps you move on. By the time they realize what they lost, you'll already be focused on something better. If this video resonated with you, drop this in the comments. I choose silence. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because your journey to self-worth is just beginning. Until next time, stay strong, stay silent, and watch the world shift in your favor.